always laugh and make commentary and stuff, but for the most part, let's focus, hone in, and enjoy and take in the
For my good.
For my God, right?
Okay.
Got you. What is your biggest guilty pleasure?
My biggest guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Hey, somebody's laughing at me. I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure or if it's just an everyday pleasure.
Everyday, okay.
Yes. I love peanut butter sandwich. It's almost an addiction. And the thing is, when I have it, I have to have it with Milo, which people don't understand. Because people go, yo, that's heavy, and I go, well.
Can I say guilty pleasure, people say cafe, tea, baked goods, deep fried chips. This is peanut butter and jam. Peanut butter sandwich.
Peanut butter sandwich.
Last one, what's the weirdest gift you've ever received? And what did you do with it?
Okay, that's a tough one. I think because I'm such a grateful person, I never get to see anything as weird if it's a gift. I just really appreciate everything. But there is I was once bought a perfume that didn't quite sit well with me. It triggered my migraines, it triggered my headaches. So even if I wanted to wear it for the sake of wearing it because I bought it as a gift, I couldn't. So I just gifted it to someone else.
And does the person know that's what you did?
No.
Okay.
No. I think that would break their spirit. I'm not into breaking people's spirits.
I think just getting into a conversation, I was listening to a conversation.
As an actress and a model, and you have your vision boards, and you have a plan, you have goals. And the last thing that I wanted to happen at the time, or what I thought I wasn't ready for, was a child. And then the study happened. And when she happened, but I think even South Africans can relate to this when you come from a very strict family, like my dad, he lays down the law hard. My first reaction was freak out when I found out I was pregnant. And I thought, oh my God, I just come to Joburg, like I'm hardly in Joburg 3 years. And already with baby, what am I going to say to my parents? What am I going to say to my dad? I wasn't even worried about myself so much. I was more concerned about disappointing them, because number one, I think I was the first one from my family to even get matric. So I just think, I'm the third of 7 kids. But I put on so much responsibility on myself to make my parents proud. And for me, this was almost like such a letdown for them, or I thought I would have let them down bad. The first person I called when I found out was my mother. I didn't even tell the dad that I was pregnant before I called my mom, because I think I was so scared, and also being young, I didn't want to be influenced to make decisions that I wasn't ready for or that I couldn't understand. And the one person that I really trusted with my life was my mother. And I knew that, in as much as she may be disappointed because this wasn't part of the plan, she would be my sense. Whatever she says would make sense.
Yeah.
So I called my mom and I told her, and there was silence on the other end of the line.
You did it over the phone?
I did it over the phone. Remember, I'm this side there in Botswana. Yes. And there was just silence and my heart is serious heart palpitations as I'm waiting. And then my mom says, oh my God, I'm going to be a grandmother again. Do you know, what a way to make me feel like, this is not the end of the world. Like, she didn't take it badly at all. And in that moment I had a bit of hope, because at least I had one person on my side. To say, okay, so it wasn't part of the plan, but life happens. So let's see how we navigate this now. So the first thing I said to her as well was, how are we going to tell us? and my mom goes, that can be very tricky. So I think stay in Joburg for a while. while because I think when I called her, when I found my mom would never like this. So I think when I called her, when I found out, it was 9 weeks, 10 weeks. It was still early. So she said, stay in Joburg for a while, get over your first trimester, and when you feel like you're ready and strong enough, you can let me know when you want to come home, and then we'll approach you there together. But I will make sure that your grandmother is here when you come. So my grandmother from my paternal side, because I don't know, I think women are interesting people, right? Doesn't matter how old you are, your mother is your mother. And when your mother is there, you become a boy. So we needed to make sure that my dad was a boy up until
And before I move on, how did that, and I can imagine even calling your mom, like you said, was nerve-wracking, but how did that phone call change your relationship with your mom? And I'm asking because I think growing up, I loved my mom and I knew my mother loved me, but there was a time as a teenager where I just couldn't stand her. I think naturally a lot of people. And then I grew up, and when I started being vulnerable and her being vulnerable towards me, it shifted the nature of our relationship. I started seeing her as a person. Yes, she's mom, but she's a person who actually cares about me before she is mom. So for you, that moment, how did it change your relationship with your mother?
I had always had a very special relationship with my mom. I think my mom was like a real life angel.
Yeah.
Like honestly. And I think which was my biggest pain when I had to call her the first time about this, because something in me just said I was disappointing my biggest fan, because she was my biggest cheerleader. But when she took it the way that she did, I just felt like, okay, the world is not coming to an end. This is not the end, and I don't think, and the one thing my mom said to me as well is, children can bring you luck. So when something happens to you and you embrace it, and you don't reject it, and you don't chastise yourself, you don't see yourself as a bad person or a different person, and you just embrace it, that can actually bring you luck.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know that.
But my luck changed after having this.
Really?
Yes.
That's incredible. How did you know, how did you identify it to that moment? Don't you think it was the change that happens when you become a mother? How do you associate with that? Because I think with me, I associate, for example, when you become a mother, I think you reach the most powerful version of yourself. But for you, you said it's a matter of because I embrace it. So why did you come to that conclusion?
I think because then you stop living for yourself.
Okay.
When I left home, my biggest mission was to work, so my parents wouldn't have to work so hard.
Okay.
Because at one point my mother was working like 3 jobs. And my parents hid their challenges so well from us. In as much as we didn't have much growing up, we didn't really feel the struggle because they protected us like that.
Yeah.
But when I found out how much my mother was earning 20 years after working for the same company, I think for me that was my drive to work hard and to just get my mom to stop working. And I can pay her 4 times her salary. Do you know what I mean? So that was my mission. So when she embraced me and my situation the way that she did, and we got over the burden of telling my dad, and I was able to come back to Joburg and work. I worked throughout my pregnancy.
Sure.
So work didn't stop. None of the things that I was fearful about actually happened. And I think it was right that fact of just embracing it and going, okay, this is me now, so I'm a model with a tummy. I'm an actress with a stomach. I'll just take roles that accommodate this. If I'm able to hide it, I can hide it. I remember I got to shoot, it was an Australian series, it was called Okavango. At the time, they didn't know I was pregnant. I had to get on a horse, pregnant, they didn't know I was pregnant. I got to be chased by an elephant because we were shooting in the safari, and they didn't know I was pregnant. And there was a point in one of the scenes where I had to run and trip and fall. I think for me there, I panicked a little bit and I thought, Connie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then I had to share with one of my production managers that, okay, I am handling a situation here.
Yeah.
So there's a situation here, so we need to find a way for me to fall without hurting myself. And you know, another thing that I was fearful of, but it actually turned out that they became very supportive. And we were able to navigate the whole shoot without knowing I was pregnant, get through everything without me being injured, and things just worked out the way they were supposed to.
You know, I think when you talk about a lack perspective, what you're saying is I'm hearing it all. When we operate from a place of shame and guilt, I think it's hard for things to happen with ease. But once we surrender to the situation and this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, let me give it my all, it's as if doors just kind of open and life works with you, just like that.
100%.
Yeah.
But it was a very difficult pregnancy, Mercedes pregnancy. Number one, it was my first child. I didn't know what to expect. It was just me and the father. My parents were in Botswana. I didn't really have a lot of friends in Joburg. So the experience in itself, as much as, you know, becoming a mother was, I was discovering a lot of things about myself. But it was a very scary experience. Because number one, I didn't have medical aid. I had to go to public hospitals. They treat you like crap there when you're young and you're pregnant. I discovered, also now, because you're becoming a mom, you're doing all these tests and you discover health issues that you didn't know that you had. And there's something about our bloods. I don't know how many people know, number one, your blood proves what you are. Number two, what it means to be the blood group that you are. So I'm A negative, and as it turns out, A negative is one of the very rare blood groups. And because the father was, I think he was AB positive, they put so much fear in my head, you know, it's a very delicate pregnancy, where the child comes, you're going to have to be separated very quickly from the baby because your blood can't mix, because then that will put your life at risk. So throughout the pregnancy, and all I'm thinking about is, when I go into labor, I need to go to hospital quickly because they need to admit me quickly and separate me quickly from my baby, and you know, all these little things. So it was a very stressful pregnancy, but we made it. And she didn't cry when she came. I think which is why my child talks a lot.
Okay.
She didn't have a moment. No, now she's having her moment. And she's very loud and proud. But when she was born, she took a while to cry. And I think I panicked because I thought, oh my God, it's a stillbirth, right? And I was laying there and they were hitting her, removing the stuff from her mouth. You know, I didn't think I could be very happy to hear a child cry. So when that scream, when it came out, oh my God, I was laughing and crying at the same time because I was just so happy and relieved.
So I believe that God gives you clues throughout your life. Like, I love your gray hair, beautiful. I have gray hair, not because of age, but I think yours is also genetic, right?
It is genetic.
It is genetic, yes. And I believe God gives you clues in your life. For example, I was sharing my foundations, I was sharing my history, and I was just sharing that at the age of 4, my dad put me on a stage to sing, and just moments how I was serving in church, and just all these moments that when I do the things I do now, it makes sense when you look back. So when you think of your life, what are some of the clues that you're like, oh, it actually makes sense perhaps why I ran a salon and why I am here?
So when I was growing up, I was extremely shy. I still am very shy. People don't believe that I'm shy. I think I've just trained myself to be able to operate on a stage in front of the cameras. But I think naturally I'm a very introverted person. And it's something that used to worry my dad a lot, because I think he thought I would underperform because I was too shy, too scared to put myself out there. For example, I would be in the debate club, but I wouldn't be the one on stage talking. I'd rather be the one doing research. Yeah, I'd rather be the one doing research, taking notes and, the one behind the scenes. My sister, on the other hand, my older sister, beautiful woman, she was into pageants and stuff, and she was the more outgoing one, the more beautiful one. Like, I didn't even have a name, I was Kiki's sister. Like, she was Kiki and I was Kiki's sister, and I was very happy to be Kiki's sister. But this one time, my dad encouraged me to just rehearse with her, when she was, getting ready for her competitions, to just rehearse with her, and, and I started doing it, and I kind of started enjoying it, and getting a little bit of confidence. Doing drama at school, I did literature, English, and speech and drama at school. I had an English teacher from the UK. His name was Mr. Byron. They called him Byron the boss. Very intimidating man, tall. Nobody liked Mr. Byron. Mr. Byron liked nobody. But Mr. Byron had a soft spot-ish for me, because it was almost like he saw something in me that I didn't see. And I remember I don't even know where he is right now, bless his soul. I remember Mr. Byron saying to me one day that he walked with a stick, and he actually threatened people with that stick. So when he said you, like, he was pointing that stick at me, and he said, you are going to be a star one day. So he almost spoke that into my life, and I don't even know why he said that when he said it. Yeah. All I know is I loved performing. Yeah. And every time I performed, I felt like someone else. A part of me just celebrated when I was performing. Yeah. There was a time I was doing traditional dance. It's not a traditional dance at school as well, and my parents were there. And then some lady started crying watching me dancing. I was skinny and smiling, but traditional dance, I loved it. And then she asked my mother, is that your daughter? And my mom said, yes. And this woman was just crying, and she said, your daughter is special. And my mom said, I know. Oh. And my parents also just in themselves, they spoke so much life into me. And then they affirmed me so much. They believed in me more than I believed in myself. Yeah. Anywhere I am today is not anything I even visualized when I was a kid. Because I grew up in Botswana, and the entertainment industry there at the time was non-existent. So I do believe, yes, certain steps are ordained by God, and yes, He will give you clues to say, this is who you are going to become. Or give the parents, the people that don't get it, like your parents. Like I think my parents knew.
They could see it.
They could see it. They knew who I was going to become before I could see it.
Yeah. Have you always been a disciplined person, or should I ask what happened to you? Because I think we look at, you were at gym this morning, right?
7:15, I was.
You were at gym, and you probably go to gym, and you go to gym on Sunday, you go to Sunday service.
Sunday service.
Yeah, but I think even outside of gym is probably the one factor of your discipline that we get to see. But we look at disciplined people and we think maybe they were just born like that. But I'm coming to the understanding or the knowledge that I think something happens where someone identifies a weakness or a moment where they never ever want to experience again. And so they would rather endure the pain or the hardship of discipline than to be there again. So with you, does your discipline come naturally, or what happened to you?
It was really instilled in me when I was very young. My dad is a sportsman, so they are naturally disciplined, right? So we grew up under the guidance of the sportsman. He was a boxer, he did karate. I did karate when I was young, and the discipline that follows, that goes with just being in a karate class is insane. So I think some of those traits I got from when I was younger. But then again, going back to just how strict, my dad was a disciplinarian. And being the third child, I got the opportunity to see these two disciplined. the two that I come up to, right? So I kind of learned a lot of what not to do from them. So God knows how I would have turned out if I didn't have these two observe and learn from. Because my dad, you know, when they say spare the rod and spoil the child, my dad did not spare the rod at all. So, there was no way I was going to be smacked. There was no way. So I made sure I behaved. So I think in a way, that being Lekwana just made me to hold the line and try to do the right thing. And also I hated disappointing my parents. And you know, as much as my dad didn't spare the rod, it was more than just that. I could see the pain both he and my mom felt every time they were disappointed by their children. And I didn't want to be that child that, you know, I mean, we children, we make mistakes and we will naturally disappoint them. But I didn't want it to be a thing of habit that I don't care. You know, they must just deal with it. So I think I was taught and adapted discipline from a very young age.
You don't pleaser, but the way you keep saying, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. Have you been a people pleaser and now you're wiser and you know better? Or it's just that sacred relationship of, because I saw these two and what happened to them, I'm not going there?
I used to be a people pleaser. But I think with my parents it was more than just about people pleasing. I really love and adore my dad. He's still alive. My mom was my everything. I lost her in 2013. Starting to work, I think going back to, you know, what an introvert I actually am. I don't like disappointing people. I don't like letting people down. And I think, it's very difficult to blur the lines to say, when is it not just disappointing someone or when is it being taken advantage of because you don't want to disappoint. So I think it's something that you learn as you grow and you develop and you think, no, I know I'm a nice person, but even this is a lot. So I can tell you for a fact now, I am not a people pleaser. I will be respectful, but if I need to say no to you, I will say no to you. You can cry all the tears you want to cry. No, and I will walk away with a clear conscience.
Sure. That's confidence. And that's boundaries. So your boundaries are on a 100.
No, again, this comes with getting older. I haven't always been like this. I think my 20s, and also dating and getting married young, you tend to rely a lot on your partner, you rely a lot on the people around you. I'm new in the industry, I'm trying to learn from people. So even when things didn't feel right, I would just go, you know, it's okay. Tomorrow will be better. You know, it's okay, tomorrow will be better. And then it never gets better. And then eventually you get to a point to say, the person suffering here is me. And actually the people that you're trying to please are not even appreciative of your efforts. No, they don't care. So why are you even doing it in the first place? So you get to that point, I got to the point where my boundaries are solid. Oh man, I say no to so many things. I don't even feel bad about saying no. And the reason I feel bad about I don't feel bad about saying no is I'm a nice person.
You really are.
And I know I'm a nice person. And I don't need anybody to tell me I'm a nice person. So if I'm going to say no to you, I have a reason for saying no, and it's got nothing to do with you. It's got everything to do with me. So if you don't get it, that is not on me. That is on you to deal with your issues.
My favorite thing about my 30s is that I know that my intentions are always pure and that I'm a nice person. And even if I hurt you, I know that it wasn't out of malice, but it was just a shortcoming. But I know that I'm a nice person. And hearing you speak so confidently about it excites me. I think that's my favorite thing about speaking to mature women, because I think as women in our 20s and younger, we feel so bad and you feel like it's the end of the world for things like just saying no. Like saying no is such a big deal. But to hear you say, I know I'm a nice person. So if I'm saying no, I know where I'm coming from. It's liberating and it excites me about life.
Yeah. And it's like having, okay, they're not teenagers anymore, but you know, when you're navigating, I mean, for any mother here who's navigating a relationship with teenage daughters, you know how challenging that can get. They can test you. They can literally test who you are as a person. They can test your personality. You get to discover so many things about yourself. But I think what I've always managed to do and what I'm teaching my daughters is to manage their temperament, regardless of the situation they find themselves in. They must never, ever, ever be forced to act out of their character and then blame a situation for it. You can be angry without raising your voice. Now, I said, well, you don't have to raise your voice to express anger. Because with me, for example, if you're going to raise your voice at me, I literally, I stop hearing what you're saying. But as grown folks, we will have issues, we will have clashes, but let's address them as adults. If we can sit and look each other in the eye and you tell me what your problem is, and I listen until you are done, and when it's my turn to speak, I tell you what my problem is with what your problem is, if I have a problem with it. And somewhere along the line, sometimes we just have to agree to disagree. That's okay. But when you're talking and you literally listening to each other and hearing each other, trust me, it's very easy to come to an understanding to say, okay, no, it was a misunderstanding. But when somebody is screaming, the other one will never comprehend. They will never comprehend what you're trying to say. So yeah, for me, just managing your temperament is like number one. It's very important.
You come up, I know you are a lover, and I think every time you speak about your sister, you always mention how much you love her, and the way you speak about the people in your life, you just ooze love. And as someone who loves love and lost love in the physical, what is a small moment that you looked past that seemed insignificant, that you missed the most in regards to your late husband?
Oh man, sure. Nothing with sure was a small moment. I think we were just so big on life, the both of us. I think we celebrated life every day. And every single moment with him was meaningful. Never small. Nothing small about, my encounter with my husband. I miss everything about him, but if I were to just name the few things that I miss about him, I miss his laughter a lot. But I think because he loves so much, I hear it often. Yes, I can hear it often. I see him smile a lot. I miss his nurturing side. She was very nurturing. I think he loved hard, and I never used to believe that men were capable of loving like that. And he actually showed me and taught me what real love is. So I know real true love exists. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I never stop believing in love because the show is not here. I still feel his love now. And I think that's the beauty of being in a meaningful, healthy marriage, relationship, whatever, is that when our loved ones leave us, I did the same with my mom, the memories we have of these people, they don't go away. And because of that, that's what keeps them alive, right? Because they may not be here in the physical, but because you're always talking about them. I'm always talking about my husband. Every other, if I'm having a chat, right now we're talking about him, but if I'm having a chat with my daughters or my sister, there's no point where Shaw's name does not come up. The other day, Anisha had ordered something and then she goes, "Oh, Dad!" And then she bursts out laughing. And I go, "What?" Dad would have been on my case about this. So almost like he's still, everything's like Dad this, Dad that. And I love that because we are not trying to forget him. And which is something I find very challenging in black communities especially, because I'm not sure how, white communities handle it, is that when you have lost and you're grieving, it's like everybody's pushing you to move on. And, when you're talking about your loved one, it's like, no, let him rest. But the man is resting. The man is resting. But he is a part of my life, whether I like it or not. I will carry him to the grave. Till the day that God calls me, he will always be a part of my life. You don't spend 20 years with someone to just let them rest. He's resting. The 20 years that I've spent with him, what are they supposed to mean to me? Like, I'm just supposed to now forget and act like it never happened because I'm supposed to let him rest. I can't let Shaw do anything. God made that decision already. He's resting. All I have. And they are what I cherish because that's his gift to me. So yeah, that's what's keeping us going. We were very close. We still are very close. Because he makes sure that he stays close also. From the other side, we feel him. We still feel his love, my mom, we still feel my mom's love. So I think what I would like to impart from this specific topic, to everybody here who still has someone. You don't love the people in your life, man. That doesn't mean we take love for granted or we take the people in our lives for granted because we feel like they will always be here. Life is very unpredictable and life is short. And since I went through my own loss journey, I have encountered a lot of people who have also suffered loss. Loss is not exclusive to me. But what's been interesting to me is to see how different people deal with it and how different people navigate it and how different people actually struggle with it. Not to say I'm not struggling. I'm saying grief is not linear, right? One moment you're okay, the next moment you wake up and you think, what? And it just hits you like it's fresh. And that's okay also. You need to allow yourself those moments. But from my conversations with other women especially, I think the ones that I find struggle the most is those that didn't have peace with the person that has departed, whether it was a parent or a boyfriend or a husband or whatever. Those that didn't have peace struggle to move on because it's almost like they don't have closure. And they always looking, there's regret. They always just say, hey, if only that day it would be a sharp, or if only that day I had raised my voice at them. And so I think where I'm going with this is it's important to, my husband used to say to me, we don't go to bed angry. And I remember for me personally, because I was a bit of a sulker, it took me a while to understand why Shona will just not let go sometimes. And I would want to sleep. That man will not sleep. We will talk until he is happy that we have spoken and we have resolved the situation. It would irritate the crap out of me sometimes, but I think we got to a point where I understood the importance of it. And I am so grateful that I got to that point because now I'm at peace.
Looking at losing your mother, losing your husband, you have every reason to stop showing up. You have every reason to stop showing up. And specifically with your husband, I think you could have just stopped. Why didn't you stop? And is there a specific day where you woke up and you said, actually, I still get to live?
I think losing my mom was a dress rehearsal. because I had lost before, I lost my grandparents, but they were old. And I think when you lose, you are almost ready for it.
Yeah.
I mean, because of the love that we have for them, you still feel pain, you still feel loss, but you know that they have lived, they are resting. So I think moving on is a lot less painful than losing someone who's young. My mom was 68 years old when I was young. With my mom, I think I had a bit of regret. And my regret stemmed from the fact that at the time I was doing Strictly Come Dancing. So they had come all the way from Botswana to come and see me perform, to come and see my show. And the next day they were leaving and I was going to rehearsals. And my mom suffered migraines, right? She suffered really bad headaches. And that morning I was late because we had been performing the night before and we were going to rehearsals. I was tired, I was grumpy. And I remember they had not had breakfast. But I was in such a rush. I was in such a hurry to go to rehearsals. You know when you say goodbye to someone like you're going to see them tomorrow?
Yeah. I
said goodbye to them so quickly and they're driving back to Botswana. Because I knew also they were supposed to come back 2 weeks later to watch my next performance. So I thought I was going to see them again. So the following week, I remember I was in rehearsals. And that day, that morning, I just woke up and something was off. Something was completely off. I wasn't on my A game. I couldn't get any of the steps. Like something was just off and I didn't know what it was. So one of the, I think people from production came to me eventually. We were in the middle of rehearsals. And then he says to me, your husband called, he'd like to talk to you. And I'm thinking, he knows I'm at rehearsals and he knows I'm going to be here the whole day, so what could be that urgent? Sean was a patient person, he would have waited. And then I go, okay, if he says it's urgent, there's a problem. You know when you just know, my heart went. And then I said, okay, did he say what's wrong? And then this guy just looked at me and said, no, he just said, you need to come home. That's what he said, you need to come home. Do you know what came out of my mouth? I don't even know why I said what I said. But I said to the production person, who died?
Yeah.
Because I don't know why I said that, but I think maybe it was because of the feeling that I had. And then I checked my phone, I had 11 missed calls from my husband, 11. So I grabbed my bags quickly, I called him, and he just said, baby, come home. Okay, what's going on? But at least when I heard he was okay, I think I was a little relieved. And he just said, baby, come home. But I go, what's wrong? He says, no, just come home. There's a situation. And I went, who died? And he says, Cons, just come home. Kirishana, who died? Because I wasn't going to need to get home to yo. And then he says, Mums, this morning, hey, I lost it. I struggled so much with my mom that I had to get counseling. Because I think I just had a lot of feelings of guilt that I could have connected with her a bit more the last time I saw her. And I didn't really. So it's almost like I didn't even say goodbye properly. So yeah, I struggled with that for the longest time. So the reason I'm using my mom as an example to say she was a dress rehearsal, it's because I was very close to her. So when I lost Shaw, we were both sick. So I myself wasn't well, I was feeling weak. I got to spend a month with him in hospital. He was in hospital for a month before he passed on. So I saw him deteriorate. And in as much as I had hope, I had them. I mean, we prayed all kinds of prayers for that man, for God to heal my husband. And our faith was so strong. We believed he was going to be. We believed. But he didn't. And when he didn't, I thought, that's it for me. When you believe in soulmates, I believe Shaw was my soulmate. And you hear about soulmates following each other. When the one goes, you're next, you're gonna follow. Right? So I was ready. I was ready. I just.
Are you saying your goodbyes? Are you also saying your goodbyes?
Yeah, no, I was ready to go. Like I was ready. And I was also weak and fragile, and it just didn't make sense. Because he was 47. He was strong. He was taking care of himself. He did everything right. He didn't drink, he didn't smoke, he didn't abuse his body in any way. So it just did not make sense. So I thought, you know what? It's time. It's time. Try not to laugh. The first week, I was literally a zombie, like literally, because I was still recovering from my illness as well. And every night I went to sleep, I didn't want to wake up the next morning. I think I'm just not a suicide kind of person, because I want my soul to go to heaven. But I was ready to go. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, praying non-stop. But I think initially I couldn't pray. So when I couldn't pray, I just literally said to God, I don't know what you're doing, man, but you know what I don't. I don't see my life without this man. It's like we were purposed to walk together to the end. I mean, we used to talk, walking hand in hand as old people in Cresta. Every time we saw an old couple walking together, we were joking, but that's us in a couple of years. And all that, just like that, was gone. Like all those dreams in a flash were gone. And I just couldn't stop seeing myself going on. Until eventually I just said, Connie, just one foot in front of the other. If you wake up in the morning, there's a reason you're still waking up. God has a purpose for your life. You may not know what it is now, but maybe it's not for you to know now what it is. It's just for you to rediscover yourself and rediscover that purpose for your life.
So it was 1 foot in front of the other.
1 foot, it's still 1 foot in front of the other.
Still 1 foot in front of the other.
Now we can do it with a smile.
Yeah. Sure.
But there are times when I wouldn't be able to sit and talk to anyone like this, but without tears running down my face. So like I said, it's not linear. You ride the waves. When the wave comes, you just ride it. But what I always say to people is, allow yourself to feel what you feel, but never, ever. I mean, if you're a person of faith, God has a bigger plan for your life, a bigger purpose for your life. So never, ever stay in that dark place for too long. What allows us to go is the fact that right now we are all living the human experience, right? And it's human to feel grief, it's human to be sad, it's human to feel loss, it's human to feel all those things. So don't even feel bad about feeling what you feel. But just know, just allow your faith to get you out of that dark hole and to tell you, what, I'm feeling this way now, but it's okay. I'm okay. God's got me.
God spoke it to me. I didn't understand, what does healing our faith mean? Why does my faith need healing? And it's as if God was saying to me over time, and I think a big part of it is COVID was a scare to a lot of us who are in autopilot, but we've stopped believing, we've stopped trusting God, we've stopped It's as if we just reference the Bible for miracles, that, oh, in the days of the Bible, but we no longer have the faith, that big faith of today, to believe God to do something in our lives, to believe God for the miraculous, to believe God for the things He said He will do. And so when it comes to now the healing of our faith, my understanding was that, God, you want me to believe again. But I thought I believed, but then I realized that my belief was based on the things that I already knew. So now you're healing my faith. Now, when you say you believed your husband was going to make it, and you prayed, I believe until the very end, what happens to your faith when God doesn't answer the way you wanted Him to answer?
It's tested. It is tested beyond, I can't even tell you. My immediate reaction was I was very angry with God, because when I met Shaw, I was going through a phase where he said he was 8 years old. I think I was focusing on work and on raising my daughter. I was never going to get married again. I think I was very happy with my life the way it was. It was lonely, but I was fulfilled. And then he brings this handsome man into my life to make me ecstatically happy for 20 years, and then just take him from me. So why did he give me that experience if he was just going to rip it away from me? Because I was fine before the experience. Now he's you know, it's like giving one a stock sweetie and then snatching that stock sweetie from the child. I mean, that's cruelty on another level. And I was angry. I was so angry. But like, we did all the right things. We fasted. We prayed. We didn't sleep. We didn't sleep. So anger was natural for me. I remember I couldn't pray. And I think this is where community becomes very important. This is where family becomes very important. This is where people that pray for you becomes very important. I was lucky I had my sister. She's still with me, she lives with me. My daughter Alicia is literally her father's daughter. Because that child, you know, when you go through a loss like that, you think about what you have lost, but then you look at the people around you and you think, how is she going to be without a dad? She has all these milestones still coming up, and her father will be there to experience that with her, and she will be able to, because she was very close with her. But the way that child was strong, and not to say she didn't get the opportunity to grieve, I think she grieved in her own way. But praying the way that we did for the month that Shaw was sick, I mean, we prayed before. But I think this was just praying on a whole other level that I didn't even know was possible. I think prepared us. Because then after, even though I was angry and I couldn't pray and I didn't even feel like praying, we had prayer time in my house. And when that prayer time came, you'll never believe who led that time. It was Alicia. They would convene in my room. Everybody would be sitting with their journals and their Bibles, and everybody would read their word of the day and whatnot. And there's a prayer that my mom taught me when I was sick. It's the serenity prayer. You know, I meditate on that prayer every day. I don't have to have problems or issues to say that prayer. I just meditate on it every day. And I think it started having a completely different meaning to me now when I prayed it. I needed to believe every word that I said in that prayer and just us know, you know what? There are things that are just beyond my control, that I can't keep holding on to things that, there's nothing I could have done for sure. We prayed, we did everything that we humanly possibly could, and whatever reason that it was taken away, it's not for me to even try and understand it. I must just let it go. I must just let it go. I must have the courage to accept, let go, have the wisdom to know what it is that I can change if there's a situation to change within my environment, and to learn to receive and accept help from others. I never saw a psychologist after losing my husband. I saw a psychologist after losing my mom. So the trajectory of things is just very different with the two losses. And I think the reason is that my faith was stronger with Shaw, or I was strong in faith with Shaw more than I was with her.
But you also speak, sorry to cut, you also speak about how with Shaw there was that peace, but with your mom there was a bit of that regret.
Yes.
And it sounds like even from a community perspective, your community right now is your psychology.
It is psychology. I have a friend who's become a sister, a lady, her name is Tsibofatso. Sure, that woman lived at my house. She literally just come to my house to chill, to talk, to pray with us. She'd send me prayers. I had a group of friends, the ladies that I train with, you know, they would send me prayers, they would pray for me, they would send me comforting messages. And this is why I'm saying community is so important. Because it actually makes you realize that in your grief, you feel alone because nobody can feel what you're feeling. But they make it a point to let you know that you are not alone. I may not be feeling your pain the way that you are feeling it, but I am here. Even if it's just to sit with you and not talk, let's just sit and not talk, but I am here. So that is very important. And what some of us did for me as well, which I'll always be grateful for, was I couldn't stop talking about you. And I think for a while I was also very angry with him because it's almost like they have a choice whether they want to go or not. You know, when those people came to get him to say, okay, now we are coming to get you. He should have just said no, but I'm not done here. You know, so I mean, I was so angry with a lot of things, and then someone said to me, write your husband letters. Write him a letter, tell him exactly how you feel. If you're angry with him, write him a letter, tell him how angry you are. Every day, just put your feelings in a letter. And when you're done, read it out loud, burn it, tear it up, whatever. But just put your feelings in a letter. You know, I started writing my husband letters every single day. And I think that became my therapy. Because I actually got to it. Yeah.
How is your faith? In fact, who is God to you now?
God is everything to me. And I'm saying God is everything to me because, you know, we know there is a God, right? And I grew up Catholic. So when you're a child, some of these things are just forced on you. And you don't really understand them. But as life starts lifing you, when life starts lifing and you look back in history and you think, how did I survive this? Then you know and appreciate that it's God. Jesus is my nature. Like, okay, I think I'm a Jesus girl. I think Alicia is a bigger Jesus girl. But that man died for our sins. He died so we could live. So if he went through everything that he went through so we could live, what gives us the right to torture ourselves for our mistakes, for our sins, for the things we want that we can't get, for every little thing. When, number one, there are so many promises that have been made for us, and all we have to do is be still and wait our turn, because God's time is not our time. What gives us the right to question as much as we do? What gives us the right to be impatient? What gives us the right? What gives us the right to not believe? When we survive so much and you don't even know how you survived it. You're not God.
I think we become a little, as we go, and I think sometimes we need that reminder, what you said, that what gives me the right to torture myself for making a mistake? If someone went through everything to us that I made, then why am I not taking that life? Why are we not choosing life? Because it was given to us. How is friendship healed you? You've got a group of friends that you share, that you go on holiday, and I watch her like, she looks like she's having the time of her life. How's friendship in your 50s? How does it bring light in your life? And how do you show up big as Connie in your friendships and enjoy them?
The irony is I was never really a friends person. That's the biggest irony of my life. Is I'm learning to make meaningful friendships now in my older age than I did when I was younger. Because I think I just struggled with trusting people. But having been through everything that I've been through and just feeling so much love from good meaning people, from good hearted people, you know that there are good people out there that mean you well. So my heart, I think, is a lot more open now to embrace real friendships. I'm a child at heart. The girls that I train with are a lot younger than me. You'd never say, because we're literally the same person. Like literally the same person. But I'm learning to embrace the gifts that God has given me to help me heal. I've spoken about this before. I suffer depression, and I don't suffer depression because of my losses. It's just always been something that I've dealt with for the better part of my life. And exercise has been a big healing tool for me for depression, because I think since I started being consistent, then I went off meds. Like I don't take antidepressants anymore. So I know kind of how to manage it. And I feel my community play a big role in that. Is spirit, mind, body, health. So you feed your spirit, obviously that's God. Oh no, some people are crying.
Only now, not the second. We've been crying.
I'll answer your question, but can I just say, God is good. One could never associate loss with purpose, right? Because no one wants to lose anything valuable in their lives, or anyone valuable in their lives. But just looking around this room, I know I don't really get to see everyone's faces because some people are far, far away. I just see numbers. But for the faces that I'm able to see and connect with, there's a purpose to everything. I could have experienced my loss, or the losses that I've experienced, and just gone through them in my own dark corner, in my own personal space, dealt with them quietly, with my family, friends, whatever, and not let how I came came out, as I'm continuing to come out on the other side, be a testimony to say, God is good. And for anyone who is here today who has been struggling with grief or struggling with loss of any kind, it doesn't have to be losing someone to death or whatever, we struggle with different things. I think it's important to know that you will come out on the other side. Usually when you are in the moment, you can't see beyond that dark place, you can't see beyond that bubble. And sometimes, and this is the truth, is that sometimes you don't want to. Because you almost feel guilty for wanting to be better and to feel better. Because it's like you're supposed to feel this pain. But God doesn't want us to be in pain. God wants us to be happy. God wants us to live fulfilled lives. And that is why there are so many promises in the Bible. And those are just to comfort us, to say, you may be feeling this way today, but tomorrow is not enough. Tomorrow is another day. I've got you. But to answer your question, it's spirit, mind, body, health. Nourish your spirit. I think, now and now I put it in that order deliberately. We can be so vain. You look at Connie. Connie works so hard in the gym. Connie has a six-pack. She looks so good. And that's all good and well, right? But what is most important is feeding your spirit, and then feeding your mind, and then nurturing and feeding your body to live a healthy, fulfilling life. So all these have to go together for you to be a wholesome person.
Yes,
Yeah.
I love that. I'll just sit and listen. What is the season of your life called? What is the season of your life called?
I've never actually given it a thought, What is the season of my life called? The journey continues. The journey continues.
Ladies and gentlemen, Connie
The end of the vlog, guys. The tears have been cried. Yo, I haven't cried so much. It's for so long, in so long. Like I cried throughout the whole time she was talking. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe and all those other things. I don't have energy anymore. We're hungry, guys. We're waiting for our food. Uber Eats, I think if we had come with our car, we could have just passed by. I can't chat to the man. But anyways, bye.